So we find out that the Earl of Darkwood is behind Mozart. He kidnapped this brilliant alien kid who loved playing like keyboard, kidnapped him, turned him into Mozart, and then after he got like really tired and was just spent and exhausted, pushed him into a lava pit that is underneath his manor and castle, chat. And he's been doing this with everybody. They show a montage of different people. He captures aliens, turns them into like a musician everyone from Aretha Franklin to the Beatles, chat. He was behind it all. Earl of Darkwood. It's like, what? Hello, and thank you for checking out the video. I just want to let you know that I not only create content on my YouTube channel, Class in the Glass, but I'm also on Twitch, where I review movies, cartoons, and TV shows live, while also playing single-player games and multiplayer games. I also have a Patreon, where subscribers have access to hundreds of video and audio commentaries for films and cartoons, as well as podcasts and videocasts. In the meantime, thank you again for watching. Enjoy the video. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next part of my stream. And that part is musical musings, which again, for those that don't know, every other Thursday, I will be reviewing an album, artist, a song, or in this case, a musical, dissecting it, talking about the music itself, the songs that I really enjoy. That's kind of the general structure of the show. Today, we'll be talking about Interstellar 555. Don't forget the extra 5, Chad. Don't forget the fourth 5. The story of the secret star system. And this was recommended to me by Deadpool. So huge thank you to you, Deadpool. And it was interesting because Deadpool said that, you can take out 2, 3, 4 birds of one stone with this particular piece of content. Because it is a 2003 animated film. And it tells the abduction and rescue of an extraterrestrial pop band. And it pretty much serves as a visual companion piece to Daft Punk's album Discovery, which I believe that was like their second studio album. And the film was produced and animated by Toei Animation, chat. And so it's basically like an anime musical with the songs, both the lyrical songs and more the orchestral songs of Daft Punk. There's no dialogue in the movie at all. There's occasionally ambient noise, and like for example, like when there's a scene of a car crash and you hear the car crashing, you hear like the flames and everything. You hear like rain a lot in the movie, but for the most part, it has like no dialogue, very little ambient sounds. It's mostly just the music helping tell this story. And I had never heard of this before. Of course, I heard of Daft Punk. In terms of my exposure to Daft Punk, I've definitely like seen their stuff referenced in pop culture, in movies and TV shows, and I mean comedians and things. Like I know a number of their songs. I listened to a number of their songs, like Get Lucky. Which was, I felt like that was like, not to be mean, but like almost like overplayed. It was played so much, like everyone was. I remember like back in the day, like on the Colbert Report, like Stephen Colbert was like playing it and did like a whole music video with Daft Punk. And also like Jon Stewart and Conan O'Brien, everybody else. It was like, this is kind of nuts. So I was already kind of aware of Daft Punk for quite some time. And of course, Daft Punk is the only good thing in Tron Legacy. Like their music and their cameo is literally the only good thing about that movie. It's like, wow, this sucked. This shitty movie has an amazing score and soundtrack thanks to them. But outside of that, the movie itself isn't that good, but no, I really like Daft Punk, and I like the whole idea, like the way they're the helmets and the mask and things, like they really do stand out, and they've been enormously successful critically and commercially, and they do weird things. They're weird, right? Their collaborators are weird. Their music videos are weird, and I think because of that weirdness, they have stood out, for decades now at this point. And their songs are just really catchy too. I mean, they are, I guess, a pop rock and everything, but the band, that's kind of what their focus is. But they include everything from like funk and like psychedelic music, and I mean, even like jazz and things, and techno and synth, and so they're kind of all over the place. And I really like them for that. Again, someone whose music tastes are definitely different compared to a lot of people, certainly in the mainstream, is like, I always kind of appreciated them. I was like, I'm gonna check out their songs, and I've actually liked them. I've never owned like one of their albums, but I'm excited to one day, especially after watching this film, which again, this is free on YouTube, and apparently I learned from people in the chat that Daft Punk at their own request said put it up there for free, so people can enjoy it and listen to the music and enjoy the visuals that accompany the music. And I have to say, before jumping into, because I'm going to be doing a review, a spoiler review, a scene by scene breakdown for Interstellar 555. Don't forget the extra 5 at the end. The story of the secret star system. Like, I'm definitely going to do that. But it was cool that they just, put that out for free. And it's like, I just kind of like that. So, like, everyone can experience it. And so I already done audio commentary for it, which will be uploaded to my Patreon for free very soon. I'm going to do a review, and I'm going to have a more in-depth discussion about the music in just a bit after the review, talking about the songs I really like, and I think the meanings behind them, using the song, like how the songs were used in the film itself and what they're trying to get across, at least from my own perspective and my own opinions, chat. But we're going to go ahead and get into it right now. Chat, we are on the planet of Smurfs, okay? It's a planet of Smurfs that have the aesthetics of the Snorks. You remember the Snorks, chat, back in the day? Right, the Snorks, which was a total ripoff of the Smurfs. It was basically Smurfs except in the ocean, right? Well, apparently, Toei Animation at Daft Punk said, we are not only going to be using the Smurfs, but we're going to be using the Snorks. It's the crossover you always wanted but never got, chat. And we live on this Smurf Snork planet, where it's mostly filled with sexy Smurf people, chat. You get sexy Papa Smurfs, and you get sexy Smurfettes, okay? It's like an idyllic society of sexy people. Now, there are some abomination Smurfs that are intermingled in the extraterrestrial Smurf culture. Like, there's no doubt. Like, they have, like, just, I don't know how to describe them, chat. Like, I'm like, are you a child, or what? What are you? Like, would they actually look like Smurfs? Right? Except not sexy. It's just like, what if you took like Papa Smurf or Brainy or whatever, and you just made them like as small as a child, like maybe 3 feet tall. It's like, what the hell is this? I don't know what it is, Jim. I don't know how the gene pool got all messed up and mixed up, but you got sexy Smurfs and you got some ugly Smurfs, right, in this side. But the society's pretty good. Like, they've really been able to figure everything out. It's kind of idyllic, a very utopian-esque. I don't know it's a pure utopia, but it might as well be pretty close to utopia, chat. And everyone on the planet, and also like across the galaxy, they're really into this band. Now, the band it does not have a name, at least in the beginning of the movie. However, we do meet some of the, or actually, we meet all of the bandmates right in the beginning, chat. We meet Stella, who is the bassist, and she's the only female member of the group, chat. She's basically Smurfette, right? We meet, I don't know how to say this guy's name. I'm going to call him Asparagus. His name is Arapigius. You're Asparagus now, okay? Asparagus, who's the guitarist. He's very sexy. You get Beryl, who's one of the weird abomination Smurfs, right? It's like, all right, we got to get a diversity. Let's bring him in, right? And so you got Beryl, and he's the drummer. And you have Octave, chat. You got Octave, who is the keyboardist, right? And everyone loves them. They're playing this awesome song, chat, which is from Daft Punk's album, right? Discovery. It's a One More Time. Everyone is losing their minds to the song. Everyone across the planet's like, we're stopping. Work productivity must be at a 0 at this point, right? Because everyone is stopping what they're doing and is enjoying this amazing song. And it's amazing, Chad, no doubt about it. But because they have stopped all productivity, they have not been paying attention to the giant sperm spaceship that is now hovering above the planet, chat, and is shooting out like little baby sperms, right? And apparently within the sperm drop ships, we have the Hellgas. Remember the Hellgas, chat, from the Killzone franchise? Remember those guys? They were like, basically they were space Nazis, except they had like red glowing eyes. They had like those very like World War II-esque helmets, and the red glowing eyes, and they lived on a shitty planet where it fucked up their lungs and circulatory system and to wear suits. Remember that game when, PlayStation was like, all right, we need the Halo killer. We need the Halo killer. It's like Resistance, no. Killzone, no. Turned out the Halo killer was just all the other franchise that they were neglecting. But yeah, the Hellgas have invaded. It's like, who the hell are these alien bastards, chat? Why are they going there? Well, apparently they systematically start attacking the apparatus of this sexy Smurf world, chat, like shutting down all their systems and radar and everything else, right? And then we follow one of the other ships. We follow one of the other sperm ships where they attack the concert, right? They attack the concert, they land, and they use these kind of like gas guns. They use these like gas guns, chat, right? I thought, oh, are they murdering these people? It's like, geez, they're gassing them. But it's like some type of knockout gas, right? But, they knock out like, huge swath of the crowd, and they capture Stella, right? The Smurfette. They capture Beryl, the drummer, and they capture Octave, Chad, who's the keyboardist, right? But Asparagus, he gets away. Asparagus gets away, Chad. He fights off some of the Hellgas troops, right? And he starts running. But, and we're seeing, like, all the rest of society, like, they're all panicking. It's like, who are these alien invaders, right? And, like, the people who should have been monitoring the situation, now they're finally fucking privy to it. It's like, maybe you should have been privy to it. Maybe you shouldn't have been watching. Maybe you could have, like, recorded the concert, right? Or watched it on your space YouTube or something, right? But now you care. And so they're monitoring the situation. But we're following Asparagus. He's running away. But then we get this, like, eagle-eyed, like, Hellgas trooper. And he takes out this gun. It kind of looks biomechanical. And from a very, very, very long distance, even though Asparagus like fights off the Hellgas and everything, he's running outside. Boom! They shoot him, and he gets hit by one of the gas pellets. Chat. And he's basically he's knocked out at this point. It's like, oh no! And then like they're abducted. They're put in these tubes, and they go into the little sperm, and then the little sperm goes in the big sperm spaceship. And where we see the outline of what I assume is the leader. And they're being led by a guy that looks like the abomination love child of Dr. Wily and Dr. Robotnik, chat. Of course, Dr. Wily, of course, is the main antagonist of the Mega Man franchise. And Dr. Robotnik, sometimes referred to as Eggman, is the main antagonist of the Sonic series, chat. It's like, what if those two just stooped, right? And they just produced a gross child. That's what we got here, Chad. I was like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but they leave, and the society's like, what? And some people are coming to the recovery. It's like, what the hell was that? Why did they take the band whose name we don't know, right? Why'd they take the Smurfs? That's what the band should have been called. And so eventually we cut back to like the command center where the guys probably should have been monitoring situation on the sperm ships, and they send out a distress call, Chad, and who does that distress call go to? Shep. And I was like, Shepard, but I kind of actually, yeah, we go to this guy who is this I don't know how to describe him. He's like the space mercenary, space ranger. I guess I'll call him a space ranger, I'll call him a space ranger. He doesn't really seem like a mercenary. It seems like he's doing a lot of this out of the kindness of his own heart. But we cut to this guy who is on like the on his spaceship, like out in space. He's in a spacesuit and he's like cleaning it and things. And he goes inside of his spaceship. He's a very sexy Smurf too, very sexy Smurf. We go inside his spaceship, which is like the spaceship looks like a giant electric guitar, which is pretty cool. But he goes inside, and he goes to this room, total fucking bachelor pad, chat. But we see on all his walls, like, he's a big fan of the band that was just abducted. He's got posters, all of them. He's got this huge fucking poster of Stella above his bed, so there's, like, no doubt that he is just jerking his blue cock all night long to Stella, chat, right? But eventually he's like, he plays some of their music. They, like, in between, like, each sequence, they either play, like, a lyrical song or they play, like, more of the orchestral. So there's a lot of orchestral stuff. A lot of the orchestral stuff goes on for, like, a long time. It's a pretty long album. It's pretty much, like, as long as the movie. I think it is actually as long as the movie. So it's, like, 65 minutes, which is pretty long. Anyway. He then gets a wee woo. He gets like a call. So he goes to his comms and he gets the message from the security team on the planet that fucking the sexy Smurfs were just kidnapped. And he's like, I love them. Well, I will take it upon myself to save them from the giant sperm ships, right? And so he chases after the giant sperm ships. But the sperm ships are taking advantage of, and this is fucking nuts. They take advantage of the Phantom Zone from Superman. You know, like in the original Superman movie, right, in the beginning, which is kind of nuts. It's like, wow, the movie, like, had a perfect setup for, like, the sequel, right, Superman 2. But, like, the movie, like, literally opens up where we're on Krypton. It's all crystals, and it's Jor-El, basically overseeing the trial of Zod and the other Kryptonian criminals, and they eventually put him in the Phantom Zone, and it's like this spinning, like, square, this spinning rectangle. They go, oh! They're just, like, put into space forever for all time, and just to live out in just absolute friggin' horror, right? Well, apparently, the sperm ships find it. They find Zod's going, ah! And they manipulate the Phantom Zone to go inside of it, but it's like a wormhole. And so they basically go, like, they are able to traverse, like, however many light years, and they end up right next to, very, very close to the moon. Earth's moon, chat. It's like, wait a minute. Are the alien invaders of the Hellgas, are they humans? Is that what this is? And so our main man, Shep, he goes through the wormhole too, but it damages his ship, right? It damages his ship. And he then ends up, what ends up happening as the sperm ship, they don't notice what's happening, right? And so they go towards Earth, but then so does Shep. He goes towards Earth, but he's out of control, and eventually he crashes, like, in a jungle somewhere, chat, and he, like, knocks himself unconscious. It's like, oh my god. But then we cut back to the sperm ship, and the sperm ship, as it enters Earth's atmosphere, and it penetrates Earth's atmosphere, it goes from a sperm, right? And transforms into, like, a regular plane, you know, like a jet, like a jetliner or something like that. And it lands in a really awkward way. It's like, that's clearly not how a plane lands, but, you know, it's a spaceship, so it was all done for, you know, covert operations. And they begin unloading the sexy Smurf band, right? They take everyone. They take Stella, they take Asparagus, they take Beryl, and they take Octave, Chad, and they take them out. And great song here plays. Really love it, which is called Harder, Better, Faster, Strong, which you guys have all heard, you know, before from Daft Punk, you know, one of the most popular songs. It's won, like, a ton of, you know, awards, and I think it, like, won a Grammy and things. So it's, you know, pretty successful, chat. But basically what happens in this sequence is it takes all the Smurf people, right, the sexy Smurf band, and it begins, like, wiping their minds and using their old memories. So, for example, it's like they remember, like, where they grew up and things when they were kids, and where they played the band, their lust for music. So it takes those memories and erases the fact that they're, like, you know, from a different world. And what it does is it puts on top, it basically makes them, like, out to be human then. And it's like, oh shit. And so it's like manipulating their minds and their memories, right? And not only, like, mentally, but also physically. They physically manipulate them and change them. Like, they go into this machine that basically sprays them down to be, like, you know, specific skin tones and skin colors, chat. It's like you have, you know, 3 of the members. I think there might be white. And Octave is turned black now. That's because he had a Jerry curl. I did notice, like, they turned, like, the specific, like, band was like, okay, white guy, white girl, white guy, black guy, you had a Jerry curl, you're an alien with a Jerry curl, you're a black man. That's just how it is. That's just how it is, chat. I don't make up the rules, okay? Only Daft Punk and Toei Animation do. You got an afro, you got a Jerry curl, you are a black man now. That's how it is, okay? Just notice, like, that's a very specific detail. Anyway. Ice Cream Man's here. And thankfully, chat, after their horrific mind melding and surgery, they all get ice cream! Yay! They all get ice cream, chat. Is that coming across the mic? Can you guys hear the Ice Cream Man right now? I just want to make sure. God damn you, Ice Cream Man. Row, row, row your boat gently down the street. Oh, you can't hear it, so I just sound like a crazy person. Okay, good. It's only distracting me. That's fine. I can handle that. I can handle the distracting. But yeah, it's playing row, row, row your boat gently down the goddamn stream. Anyway, they all get ice cream. They don't get ice cream, chat. They actually don't get any ice cream, which is kind of sad, which is pretty messed up there. But again, it's changing them. The secret facility is changing them physically and mentally, basically making them slaves. And we're introduced to the abomination love child of Dr. Wily and a Robotnik / Eggman. And it's Earl of Darkwood. That's who this guy is, Shaz. It's just this morbidly obese, white-haired, white guy who just wants to take control of this group for whatever nefarious purposes. Like, why go through all this? Why have you this fantastic technology just to kidnap these people? Oh, we'll get to that very soon, Chad. Don't you worry. Hold on. I'm gonna hold my hand, Chad. Okay, I'll hold your hand. You hold mine, and I will explain this all to you. But he takes this group and he then starts forcing them under, and also he puts these glasses on them. He puts those different style of glasses, but basically it's mind control, right? It's mind control, and they basically do whatever they want. Like, they're very impressionable right now, right? And I almost feel like it's a critique on just the music industry and how it can take someone, they're like very passionate and they have like all this love for music, but once they get into the industry, they're manipulated by like a producer or like a record company or whatever, and like slowly, over time they begin to resent it, begin to hate it, they get hooked on drugs, or they have problems with substance abuse, and they're hanging around with the wrong people. I feel like that this part of the movie is critiquing. I felt like even the song, like, which I'm sure, like, again, harder, better, faster, stronger. It could be like, no, it's actually a positive song, but I like how it's like used here. I like how it's used here. Like, yeah, they're supposed to be harder, better, faster, stronger, but it's not making them that. It's kind of like this faux harder, better, faster, stronger, which I thought, well, that was kind of cool how they took like a song and was initially positive, and now it's like, we'll make it kind of negative. That was interesting. So again, they're playing around with the songs based on the animation, which I think is like really, really interesting and cool. But yeah, they're being represented by the Earl of Darkwood, who basically forced them to make all these music videos, and they then go to this record company and the guy's just called the record company owner. It's the owner's called, or the company's called Record Company. Record Co for short. And the owner, he's just jazz. He's just so happy all the time, Chad. Like, even the Wikipedia description says most of the time he is very euphoric and happy. It's like, oh, okay, good for him. And he meets Darkwood. He meets good old Earl of Darkwood, and he's like, "Hi, how you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just really excited to meet the band." Like, no one knows about it. He's like, "Yeah, no one knows about him. That's true. Only I do." He's like, "Cool." And but the band's kind of like they seem kind of confused and not really there, kind of spaced out, right? Because they're being mind controlled. But they perform in front of the owner of the record company, and he's like, "My God, this is absolutely amazing! They're killing it." And they play the song, which is in the opening, one more time, and they start calling the band the Crescendolls. The Crescendolls, check, like crescendo, right? And then dolls, but they're kind of like dolls in a way because they're being controlled and manipulated over time. They're like, the symbolism, right? And so the song goes, it's in the top 10 charts, and it goes like number 7 and number 6, and then eventually it gets to number 1, and people are just buying just this single song, like on album, chat, on cassette, on CD, all this shit, right? Everyone's just buying this thing, and they become extremely famous, but they are enslaved now at this point. And they're being abused, like they're going to all these like different concerts to performing live, and like they're signing autographs and everything, but they're just so kind of listless and depressed at this point. Like, there's this one scene that sticks out to me, like this one fan's like, "I love you, Stella," and she puts in, Stella signs it, and the person like holds their hand to shake her hand, she just stares at it like so depressed, and then Earl's like, "Shake her hand, you fucking bitch," and she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And so while all this is going on, there's this great scene where they're in this giant apartment and they're being forced to like sign like an infinite amount of like autographs over and over and over again, and all these like cards or all these like pictures, right? And eventually they're exhausted. They're just exhausted, Chad, at this point. And these security guards that are there, like these 2 security guards, they're like not letting them leave or anything, and they're basically collapsing. We follow like Asparagus goes to the window. It's this huge fucking like giant size window. It's like 2-story window. He looks out, like they're inside this penthouse, and we cut to the city, which kind of looks almost dystopian-esque. And we start following this hobo. Who's just wandering the street, shed, and is just watching people, watching all the other hobos just shtup each other and do drugs and just jerking off and dumpsters. Like, what the hell is happening, right? And then eventually, once like the police arrive because they want all the hobos to start stop shtupping each other and jerking off and doing all sorts of other things. We see like when a police headlight goes by, it illuminates who's like under the hood of the hobo, and it's Shep, Chad. That's what he's been doing. It's like, oh shit. And he's like, as he's running away from the popo, he's running away from the cops, he passes by all this advertising for the Crescendolls, and he's like, holy shit, that's the Smurfs, that's the band, that's Stella, that's Asparagus, that's Barrel, that's Octave. Why did they make him black? It's because he has a Jerry curl, because what an alien man could be, like, he has Jerry curl that just makes him black. Racist. He's like, I gotta go ahead, and I have to save them. I need to save them, all right? And so at one point, we're at like this huge concert. It's like the biggest Crescendo concert like ever. Like it's, filled with tens of thousands of people. Everyone's like, woo! Everyone's very excited. And then eventually, chat, we see Shep. We see Shep. I forget if he uses his ship or I think he hijacked like something else. I think he like got a helicopter or something or some type of plane. I forget. I'm trying to remember. But he jumps out of it. It's like, oh, what a he's like Batman. It's like, bum, 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 bum. There's actually a lot of the Batman in this movie, which is kind of funny. But he jumps out and he starts soaring down, chat, like Batman. He starts like ripping off all of his hobo clothes and things. And eventually he stops like right above the heads of the crowd. And he's kind of in this like cool, like Star Wars-esque Iron Man suit, right? And it's like, oh, fuck, he's like Iron Batman. And it goes, pshoo. And he starts going towards them. Like, no one notices him at first. Like, no one fucking notices him at all, right? And he's going right towards the stage, and he takes out this device, and it's like almost like this little laser pointer, and he points it at Asparagus, he points it at Barrel, and he points it at Octave, and it causes the glasses that they're wearing, the mind control device, to malfunction and like basically break at this point. And they're like, oh, God. But again, they don't have like all their memories though. That's the problem. Like they feel like, well, it's like, well, something's up, something's wrong. But they don't have like all their memories, but they know that this is not right. I cannot be here. Okay, I need to go. I need to leave. Right? And they see Shep and are going like, okay, you look very familiar. Like we know of you. And they all turn in there, and, Shep's about to use the device on Stella, but, the Earl of Darkwood, he sees this, and he's like, absolutely not. Like, no. And he uses his thick obese body to block the beam from hitting her glasses. And so at that point, like, all of his bodyguards arrive, and then the crowd's like confused. Now the crowd's like, wait, what the fuck's happening? Like the crowd's like really confused, like actually what's going on. And at this point they're like, oh shit, we can't get the Stella. And so Shep and the three other guys, they need to leave at that point, right? And they get out of there. They manage as they're running, throughout the stadium. They come across a van, basically. They all pile in the van, and we get in this like awesome, high speed pursuit. This high-speed chase where, Shep, even though he's like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, he's driving this, this van, and he's weaving in and out of traffic, chat, trying to get away, as these guys, bodyguards, are just like, we are trying, like, they are, like, adamant about trying to get the three bandmates back at this point. And at one point, like, one of them holds out, like, it looks like a blaster, like a laser blaster of some kind, and it has, like, a little, like, infrared dot on it, and so they can see it tracking. And I think if it's Octave or Asparagus or something, and they see that it's pointed, like, right directly at the back of the head of Shep. And they're about to shoot it, and then Octave, I think, grabs, like, I forget if it's like a speaker or something, or like at the last, he's like, oh shit, at the last minute. Basically, it's some musical device. He grabs it, and it blocks the shot. It bounces off of it, right? But then they look. I think Shep then turns around, or one of them is given like another blaster, and they start firing at the bodyguards. And one of them hits the cars, and it just explodes. It's like, oh my god, they just killed that guy. I mean, fuck him, because he's evil. But still, it's like, wow, they just outright murdered that guy in horrific fashion. And that's when we get some of the ambient music in there, because a lot of rain. They play like a lot of ambient rain noise in this, but also they do it for like fire, for the fire effects, and they also do it for car crashes, which there are several in the movie. The one car blows up, and then the one guy like gets behind, like the other bodyguard that's behind him, like cuts, but then he ends up, because he's trying to avoid the debris, but he ends up on the other side of the highway or something, or road, and there's this big fucking semi truck, and he's like, oh shit, and boom, that fucking thing hits him, and he explodes. It's like, oh my god, holy shit. But then, like, the group cuts back and like, oh, fuck, we got away. Like, we managed to, stop them, right? Even though the fucking truck driver's probably dead. Actually, I think they say, like, hey, he's fine. He just kept barreling down. He was okay. He just turned the other car into nothing. Just exploded into nothing. She had a big old fireball. But their elation quickly dissipates because they see that Shep has been shot. See, when Octave did prevent the killing blow from Shep getting shot in the back of the head. But the thing is, when it hit the thing, it bounced, and its trajectory ended up hitting Shep in the side, and so it shot him in the side, chat. And it's cool because they bleed gold, which I think was a really interesting choice. Nice artistic choice. But it's like, oh shit, Shep's like, oh, he's not looking good, chat. And after that, we then eventually, the thing is, like, I don't even know how long they've been the Crescendolls or how much time has actually passed. Like, they're not really specific with the time of things, but it's sometime after, I guess. And oh, that's the other thing too, I forgot to mention. So no, we go back to the scene of the fucking wreck, chat, and suddenly, like, the destroyed vehicles, they begin moving. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And then boom, we see this mechanical hand burst out of the truck, and we hear bum 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. And the bodyguards are Terminators. Straight up, I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. They're friggin' Terminators. Like, they come out, they crawl out, and they have, like, the red eye and everything, and we can see, like, underneath their skin, like, it's all been ripped off, and they have, like, this, mechanical steel exoskeleton. It's like, holy shit. And they just walk away. It's like, whoa, all right, okay, old chat. It gets crazier, don't you worry. We're not even at the crazy part yet. It's like, yes, this movie is about alien Smurfs. They're kidnapped by a guy that looks like Dr. Wily or Robotnik's love child. And yes, there are Terminators, chat, but we are not at the crazy part of this movie. Okay? And between all of this, all the music from Daft Punk's playing, right? Eventually, we then cut back to Stella, who is still being used by at one point, it almost feels like the Earl of Darkwood might be using her for sex. It's kind of implied because they do show off her body quite often, not like, where she's naked or anything, but they do show her off. They really show off her curves and things, and they really focus on her butt. There's a lot of booty butt shots in this movie. But, they're basically doing the tours. They're going to all these different things and, promoting Crescendolls. At one point, they're about to leave, but we see, like, this card drops out of Darkwood's coat. He's wearing this obnoxious, like, purple, frilly, almost like, a 19th century coat or something. He's like, that's weird, fashion sense. And she picks it up, and it's like a phone number, and it's like Darkwood Manor or something, or Darkwood Castle, and it's like an address. So she's like, okay, that's kind of weird. Eventually, they all go out to like this fashion show or whatever. Oh, no, is it a fashion show? No. Yeah. They go to a fashion show, and she's just kind of listless and everything, and Darkwood's just kind of schmoozing with all these figures in the fashion world, the music industry, etc. And eventually, they go to the Grammys. They pretty much go, it's called the Record Awards, but it's very obvious that it's the Grammys. And the Crescendolls are nominated for I guess it's best hit song or best single song or something. I don't know what the Grammy nominations are like, but it's funny because they go down like all the nominees, like the Crescendolls, this guy, this girl, this band, and then the last one, or one of the last ones that is nominated, is actually Daft Punk. So Daft Punk is actually in the movie. I love when they have like their masks. It's like saying like a bunch of random stuff, or it's like emojis or whatever. And I was like, I thought that was pretty cool. I did like that. But while they're there, we see that. Beryl and Octave have arrived. Octave is pretending to be a taxi driver, but Beryl has gotten into the concert, and while the Crescendolls won, And, the Earl of Darkwood, he goes up there, accept the award, which is this big golden, like, record. And he's, like, really excited. He's like, yeah, I got it. Yeah. He's like, Jesus, dude, take it easy. He's very excited about it. Now, there's a reason for that, which we'll get into in just a bit. But he's like, yeah. But since he's distracted, Beryl then uses the device that Shep used, and it deactivates Stella's mind control device. And she's like, fucking, what the hell? And then Beryl's like, oh, and so Beryl and Octave, they grab her, right? They grab her, and they manage to escape while the Earl of Darkwood and the Terminators are, like, unaware of what happened, right? And so they take Stella to, like, it's like kind of like this warehouse they've been staying at for quite some time. And, she reunites with, Asparagus, and everyone's hugging and everything. But they get kind of sad, get kind of melancholy, because then they take her to Shep. And Shep is not doing well. He is not doing well because he has been mortally wounded, and I guess they don't have any of the technology to help him or the medical. Plus, they're scared. They don't want to reveal themselves to humanity at this point or take him anywhere, and maybe he even said, don't do that. So it's like they literally put him on, like, this shitty, they kind of got him upright in a sitting position, but he's on this moldy, shitty mattress with, like, this ratty blanket over him, and he's just sweating, but he's happy to see Stella, and everyone knows that he's dying. He knows he's dying. And he kind of reaches out for Stella's hand, and Stella grabs it, eagerly grabs his hand. And we get this kind of, like, I don't know if it's an ability of their people, of the sexy Smurfs, but we get this kind of, like, mind-melding dream vision sequence where Shep basically in the vision expresses his love to Stella, or, the reason why he did it. And they kind of go in this, like, dreamlike land, and they're flying around, and there's all these different colors. Like, getting high, we're getting high, chat. It's like, what did you fucking dose me with? What was on your hand? I was like, I got a contact eye. But they're doing all this, and it brings, and I think, I'm trying to remember I think the song is, what song is it? I'm trying to remember Something About Us. That's the song that plays Something About Us, which is, of course, it's about them. And, they begin, they're just having this wonderful romantic adventure. But suddenly, like, the dream starts to go, like, really foggy and starts to dissipate, and Stella comes out of it, right? And she sees that Shep has died. And it's like, oh, God, Jesus. And everyone's like, oh, shit. And they're really sad. They know that we got to move. And they don't, but the thing is, they don't just want to leave him here to rot. They want to find a place to, like, bury him. So they leave. And they drive in the car for, like, 8 hours. And so, again, 8 hours in a van, no air conditioning. I don't know how the air conditioner works. And so fucking Shep's dead body just stinking up the car, chat. They got to go. They got to step out every 45 minutes. Makes the journey even longer. But, they go. I guess they're in Japan. I'm trying to remember where I guess they're in Japan. I'm not sure. Because it is an anime. But they go across the country, and they see all these beautiful things, and they see all the the people, all the other beautiful, sexy people, and eventually they come to a place where it's this very it's just out in nature, and they find this hillside, and it's surrounded by trees and mountains and valleys and rivers and shit and lakes and ponds, and they go up to this hill with this giant tree. And they decide that this was where we should bury Shep. And so they dig a grave, and they take out his body, and they put him in the grave. And at one point, Stella, she picks up a lily, like a flower of some kind that's very beautiful. And right before they bury him, she puts it on top of his chest, right? Puts it in his chest. And then they bury him. And then suddenly, after they bury him and they're doing their condolences and everything else, and everyone's sad, suddenly the grave starts sprouting the flowers, the lilies. Like, it just starts popping up and everything. And then, chat, we see the ghost. We see I don't know, chat. We see the resurrection of Shep. Like, we see Shep in, like, this astral projection form, just naked, dick and balls hanging out, chat. And he's ghostly white at this point, right? He has this aura. He has this white, yellow aura, gold aura all around. Everyone's going like, whoa, oh my God, it's an alien ghost. It's a space ghost, coast to coast. And he's like, bye, everybody. I got to go host a talk show on Adult Swim. Bye-bye. And so he goes up into the sky. And then we see, like, these little, like, lights, like, trail down. Everyone's like, oh, wow. As beautiful as that was, and they thank Shep for his sacrifice because they would not have been able to escape the Earl of Darkwood without him. But they're like, okay, well, we got to go now. Like, where the hell are we going to go? Like, they're lost now. Like, we took care of this, but like, we don't know what to do. And they get back in the minivan. They start driving. Oh, that's the other thing too. Before Shep dies, he gives them this alien device, just this random alien device that can do a number of things. And at one point while they're driving, like, I think the card like falls out of Stella's. She was keeping it, as we all know, chat, the best pocket is the bazungas, and she was keeping it in her boob pocket, and it fell out of her cleavage. And the device is like, what the fuck is that? What came out of your boobs? And starts scanning it. And it basically says, like, oh, yeah, this address for Darkwood Manor or Darkwood Castle is literally, like, super close by. You're going like, oh, fucking Darkwood. That's the asshole that kidnapped us and was manipulating us and enslaved us. Let's go to his castle, right? And so they then go down this really creepy road, and they finally get to the gates of the castle. This thing is straight out of Castlevania. This thing is a gothic Dracula castle, chat. It's like, I'd expect Bela Lugosi, Gary Oldman just to walk out and go, welcome. It's like, we bid you welcome. It's like, oh, Jesus, okay. And they're like, you know what? Let's Scooby-Doo this shit. Because they then enter the castle grounds because they want to learn more about this Earl of Darkwood, right? And so they have to traverse like the all the different towers and catacombs and rooms of this castle, chat, the entire time. But they get like, eventually they get to this like room. They eventually get to this room, and it's huge. It's very opulent. It's like this giant library. And in the middle of the library, there is this stand with like a book on it, right? And they're drawn to the book, and they start opening the book. And they start seeing, and the first image they're greeted with is what looks like the Earl of Darkwood, chat, except he's like, from the 800s or something. Like 800 AD. It's like, what the hell is going on? And then we get a flashback as they're going through the pages, chat, where apparently the former Earl of Darkwood was this very wealthy man. He had a wife. He had a son, and their castle was destroyed, I think, after an alien spacecraft like crashed into it, right? And he died. And then the son was just overcome with grief, and he later found an alien device underneath the castle, which he somehow managed to figure out, like, oh, I can use this device to make myself immortal and eventually conquer the world. It's like, what? So through the black magic, through the dark black arts, chat, of conceived by humanity, and cosmic eldritch technology, this guy has been able to prolong his life for hundreds and hundreds of years. But how did he do this with that technology? Well, chat, apparently he found out the only way to stay alive, okay, was to use the technology at his disposal, right? Create alien spacecrafts to travel the galaxy and universe and kidnap aliens and turn aliens, like make them look out like to be human in the same way that the Blue Smurfs were looking before. They made them all human, sprayed them down, and mess with their memories and things with this alien technology, this dark arts and alien technology, right? And then to then pose them as the greatest musical minds of whatever decade or century they are in. So we find out that the Earl of Darkwood is behind Mozart. He kidnapped this brilliant alien kid who loved playing like keyboard, kidnapped him, turned him into Mozart, and then after he got like really tired and was just spent and exhausted, pushed him into a lava pit that is underneath his manor and castle, chat. And he's been doing this with everybody. They show a montage of different people. He captures aliens, turns them into like a musician everyone from Aretha Franklin to the Beatles, chat. He was behind it all. The Earl of Darkwood. It's like, what? And they're like, oh my God. And they get to the pages where they find the CDs where that's where their memories originally are, which they're kind of like going back. They can remember some things, but they remember everything, or like, but they realize like, okay, he's using all this technology. We got to get that technology, and they realize like, oh, that tech is at the record company. Okay, so we got to go there. The thing is though, because they hear like some weird like moaning or whatever, they hear something in another room, and they go into that room, and we see the Earl of Darkwood along with all these cultists worshiping this giant obelisk, this giant phallus in the middle of the room. And on the phallus and also the walls, this kind of like cylindrical walls, right, that's all around them, they are encrusted with the golden records. They are encrusted with the Grammy Awards, chat. So I don't think the Grammys were a thing during Mozart's time. So I'm a little confused as to why he has all that shit. But it's like, don't think about it. We're at the point of the movie you're like, you should not think about the logic here. But he is somehow using his awards on the giant obelisk, the phallus, and the cylindrical walls to power the phallus, which would then give him untold power to conquer the human race and the world itself. That's what this is. And the Blue Smurfs are like, we don't want you to do that. He's like, too bad. And he uses his cultists to grab the guys, and eventually he grabs Stella because, of course, and he needed a damsel in distress. And he takes her, and there is this, like, I guess she's like going to be sacrificed or something. Kalima, Shakti Day. And like in the middle of the phallus, there's like this outline where you're supposed to like put clearly a very big butt and thick-thighed woman. It's like, I'm not joking, chat. Watch the movie because you're like, okay, girl. And then boom. It's like suddenly just this like, hey, you better make sure my ass can fit in there. And thankfully it does. But puts her inside there and it begins, I don't know, drain her of energy or whatever. And then I think eventually people are going like, fuck this. Like Octave and everybody else and Asparagus and Beryl like, no, absolutely not. And they fight off the cultists. Oh, the Terminators are there too. They kill the Terminators. They shoot the Terminators in the head. They kill them. And eventually, through all the commotion, Stella, she manages to free herself, right? As, you know, the Earl of Darkwood's trying to stop. She's like, stop! And she frees herself, I think. And she goes to attack the Earl of Darkwood. And the Earl of Darkwood's like, no! And he fights them off. But what happened is he trips over his own fucking feet. He trips over his own fucking feet, chat. And it's like, also the gold record. They get like the latest gold record, which is like needed for the spell, I guess. And it gets all discombobulated and the record falls and he tries to reach for it. He then fucking trips over himself and falls into the lava pit. It's like, oh my God. And then all of his cultists at this point are just like, oh yeah, whatever, fuck it. And they just yeet themselves after him, and they then too fall into the lava pit, Chad. And then the whole castle just starts, falling apart. And like an earthquake's happening. Like, we got to get the fuck out of here. And our team of heroes, they eventually leave as Darkwood Manor's Darkwood Castle starts falling. It didn't completely fall apart, but it's like, definitely major parts of it are destroyed. But seemingly, Darkwood is defeated, Chad. He's defeated. Eventually, we cut from that. And the group are like, okay, we got to go to record company to get our CD memories back, right? And so they go to the record company and they say, Octave, you are a black man, so you must perform the blackrifice. He's like, I'll perform the blackrifice, everybody. It's fine. And he goes undercover. He beats the shit out of a janitor. And he doesn't really beat the shit out of him. He just, knocks him out. And he takes his clothes and he goes into the archives and he finds the CDs to restore the memories. Meanwhile, the record company owner, that guy who's just like really happy all the time, he's really sad now because he's like, something was up with the Crescendolls that I was not privy to. And like, he feels really bad because he just wishes he can find them and talk to them because, something's not right in Denmark, chat. And, as Octave is leaving, the two of the guards they find the body of the janitor, And these two guys are just like, stop resisting, and they beat the shit out of Octave, and they tase him, right? They tase him. But as soon as they tase him, the record company, when he's about to leave for the day, he steps out there, and he sees, he's like, oh my God, Octave, what happened? And he's like, oh, it's the book, the Earl of Darkwood. He gives him the book. He gives them the CDs. And the record company owner, he researches all this stuff and everything. He's like, oh, now it all makes sense. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean it all makes sense? And so he's like, oh, it all makes sense. Yes, of course. And so then the police arrive, and they're like, they arrest the other three. They arrest Stella, they arrest Asparagus, and they arrest Beryl, and Octave goes to the hospital. But thankfully, Chad, as we all know, record company owners, they have this power. They turn over all this evidence to the police. And the police review, and they're like, well, these are just some nice alien guys who just want to go home. We got to help them out. And so it's revealed by the record owner and the police and everyone else, that night, that, okay, the Crescendolls aren't really human. They were manipulated by a fucking multi-century-year-old dark wizard named the Earl of Darkwood. And he's been doing this for centuries. And so we want to set things right. And I think the first way we could set things right is getting these people home. And before the police arrive, and they go over the archives, of Darkwood, and they find all this information, what he's been doing for all these centuries and things, and his cult. But then when they leave, suddenly the castle begins shaking, and we go to the pit where the Darkwood fell and all of his followers, and out shoots what I can only describe as a cosmic hentai monster. That's the only thing and it just shoots out in the sky. It's like, well, I hope that won't be a problem later on. But anyway, the record company owner, he basically convinces humanity to help the Crescendolls, to help the sexy Smurfs. And they use Shep's old starship, and they repair it with, a bunch of, human technology. But it is space worthy. And they also discover that, we found the Phantom Zone behind the moon. So if we just manage to kind of shoot you in such a way, we can get your trajectory where you leave Earth and you could go into the Phantom Zone behind the moon, and it can get you home, maybe. And the Crescendolls are like, that sounds cool. And so, in the meantime, humanity has embraced them, loves them, and feels bad for what happened to them. You see people wear blue paint, and they're like, I see you. Like Avatar. It's like, you stole that, James Cameron, you stole it. But they see all this, and they have their back, and the power of humanity is we got to get these people home. That's what we got to do. And so they get the starship ready, and they shake hands with the record company. Oh, if it wasn't for you, sir, we wouldn't be able to do this. He's like, it's okay, I just love your music. He's like, we know. And they all board. Everyone's like, yes, Smurf people. And they get on the ship, and it blasts off, right? But it's kind of rough because, it's not typical, alien technology, so it's a little rough. But, they continue traveling, and they're getting, around the moon at that point. But then Chad Darkwood arrives, and he's a giant cosmic eldritch Cthulhu monster. He's like, I'm gonna eat you! And he attacks the ship and begins using his hentai tendrils around. He's like a shadow monster. He's like, he's a shadow monster. He's like, I'm gonna kill you. Everyone's like, everyone's freaking out. But thankfully, Chad, Shep arrives, and he is now an ethereal space Jesus, Chad. He's not hosting his show, Space Goes Coast to Coast. He took a break, and he's there, and he's butt-ass naked, and he begins fighting Darkwood, the cosmic monster, and just kicks his ass. He kicks his ass, basically contains him, right? Just grabs him, and, as he's taking him away, past the Phantom Zone, he looks behind the group, and he locks eyes with Stella, and Stella locks eyes with him, and she's like, God, I wish I could just fuck you right now. And he's like, I can't, I'm a ghost. I'm a space ghost, coast to coast. And he ends up finally destroying Darkwood, right? Eventually, they then go into the Phantom Zone, and Zod's like, I can't help you, Zod, sorry, you're a Kryptonian criminal, no thank you. We've dealt with enough, eldritch horrors for now. We've dealt with enough space criminals for now. And they go through it, and they come out on the other side, and they're fine. And the human technology, alien technology is kind of fused together, and it's better than ever. And they're like, whoo, and they go kind of relax for a little bit. They go to the room of Shep, where it's like, damn, this is a total bachelor's pad. And they find all of his posters, and they see the posters of them and all the albums he owned from them, and all the crusty socks, and And but then they get a ring-a-ding. The thing is, they call because they're near their home planet, and they call, and it's the fucking dumbasses that probably should have been watching to begin with, chat. You know, the people that should have been watching the radar and the invading human hellgassed eldritch horrors, and they're like, oh shit, you made it. And you're like, you're back. Where's Shep? And they're like, Shep sacrificed himself. He's dead. And they're like, oh, it's so sad. Everyone's sad. But then you know what the thing is? They'll turn those frowns upside down, chat. A concert! And they then beam themselves. But apparently no one left the concert hall. Again, you know, time and space is weird. But they beam themselves down from Shep's ship. And they perform a fucking amazing concert, chat. And they absolutely kill. It's like, woo, everyone loves it. And the thing is now, because they're aware of humanity, they now include Earth in all their broadcasts. And so now Earth can, you know, listen to and watch everything. We see all the blue sexy Smurf people dancing. We see all the sexy humans dancing, having a great time. Everyone's just like, yes, this is amazing. Everyone's so happy. And then we get towards the end of the movie, and the band's outside, and like the huge crowds gathered behind them. Like there's a ton of people, and we see some like I seemingly is like, you know, the leader of the Smurfs, Papa Smurf, right? Papa Smurf Prime, and they unveil this gorgeous statue of Shep. And thank him for his sacrifice and his duty to save the band. And everyone's like, yeah, and like Stella's crying because she remembers the beautiful vision dream sequence that she had with Shep, and she wants to experience that. And we see Ghost Shep just waving from the heavens, and his talk show coast to coast. But that's not the end of the movie. That's not the end of the movie, because they throw you for another fucking loop. They throw you for another loop. You're like, Chris, how can this get? You talked about a Smurf band, and you talked about a human who, through the use of immortality and alien and the dark arts, was somehow able to prolong his own life, and has been taking aliens, turning into pop bands and other notable musicians to enrich himself and possibly conquer. How can this get weirder? Well, let me tell you, chat, because then as we pan out from the planet, and we keep panning, we see the you know, the solar system, we see the galaxy, we see the universe, and it keeps backing up, chat, and here it's all black, and then we're like, what is this? And we suddenly back out, and it was all on a vinyl. This entire universe, the cosmos, chat, was a single atom on a Daft Punk album. A Daft Punk album in a children's room, in the room of a child who is a huge fan of Daft Punk. And we see that he just tuckered himself out, listening to Daft Punk all day. The parents come in, they take him, and they put him in bed, and we see like all this Daft Punk memorabilia. But then we also see, Chad, he has these two little dolls of Stella and Shep right in bed with him, Chad, just nestled right next to him, Chad. And so I guess they're going to start stupid. I don't know if I want to see that, Chad. I want that to happen next to a kid. But that's where this entire story took place. On an album owned by a child. And that, my friends, is my scene by scene breakdown to Interstellar 555. Don't forget the fourth 5, the story of the secret star system. I hope you enjoyed it. And listen, you know, outside the movie, I think the animation looks really cool. It's very, you could tell it's very influenced by like 70s and 80s anime. There's just a lot of, you know, a lot of mech anime. I noticed just a lot of like, you know, Mobile Suit Gundam, a lot of Voltron in there. I just noticed like, oh, this is kind of cool, especially for Shep's whole character design. He's very Voltron inspired. I guess you could say like more modern stuff too. You know, this had just come out, maybe like right after Cowboy Bebop. So maybe a little inspiration from like Cowboy Bebop, right? Although that is certainly a little more nihilistic than this is. But it's fun. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it takes your hand and it doesn't let go, Chad. I mean, you go for a wild ride. And the thing is, like, Daft Punk's music in this, I think, is quite. I mean, Daft Punk's always like really consistently good. Again, for whether it be their more lyrical stuff that they use or their more orchestral stuff. Now, the majority of this album is orchestral stuff, which a lot of their stuff is orchestral, which is fine with me. But the songs, the ones that have lyrics like "One More Time," "Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger," "Something About Us," and "Face to Face," all those are weaved very well throughout the entire movie, and I really like that. Like "One More Time," and they also use like a lot of auto tune too, as well, and like who they partner with and collaborate with. Like "One More Time" has a lot of that auto-tuned vocals by Romanthony. I think that's who they're collaborating with on that particular song. And then you guys have all heard like "Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger," which is great because that's played during the transformation, which I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. It's like we're making them harder, better, faster, stronger. It's almost like the $6 Million Man or something like that, right? But it's almost kind of meant to be like a parody of that because it's turning them into something that they don't want to be. And I think that song won a Grammy. And it's great. It's really good. I mean, even what's happening to the characters is kind of like horrific. It makes sense for the scene itself. And then like "Something About Us," where that later plays. That's between Stella and Shep, and they kind of go off on this grand cosmic romantic dream-esque sequence. I think that also is like really really good. And then eventually with Face to Face, which acts as almost the song that where they're finally triumphant after fighting so much adversity throughout the entire movie. It's quite good. So yeah, I actually really ended up really enjoying this film, as crazy as it got. And my God, it got crazy. I love that it just is like, hey, no inhibitions. We're going to go balls to the wall nuts. We're going to have a great score. We're going to have some great, lyrical songs. And we're going to tell a hell of a cosmic, fantasy story. And I love it for that. I thought it was an absolute blast to watch and to listen to. Like, I would suggest, chat, if you indulge in the edibles, this is the movie to indulge with when you're on the edibles. I wish I saw this when I was on edibles, but too busy preparing things. But it's fun. It's super super fun, and I highly recommend it. Highly recommend Interstellar 555. Don't forget the fourth 5. And that, my friends, is my second episode of Musical Musings. Kind of like a combination, musical critique and also like a movie review, since it technically is a movie. And I found it very entertaining. What about you guys? What did you think? What do you think of Interstellar 555? Have you ever seen it? Would you like to watch it? Let me know. I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and I want to take the time to tell you about my Patreon, Class in the Glass, which offers hundreds of film commentaries and video reactions to numerous movies, TV shows, and cartoons. If you're a fan of shows like Batman the Animated Series and Avatar: The Last Airbender, or films like Aliens and Raiders of the Lost Ark, my Patreon is the platform for you. Currently, I'm doing a subathon to reach 75 subs on the platform. If we hit 75 subs, we'll be able to start voting on the next edited YouTube reaction, which will include actual clips and scenes from the movies and shows I comment over. Choose from such films as Fire and Ice, Masters of the Universe, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, or Spawn. Subscribing at any tier level is appreciated, and feel free to give feedback at any time. Thank you again for watching the video, and see you next time.